All right, so we're recording, and guys, I'm so excited for y'all to be on, and so is Mom. We actually have a guest speaker tonight. He is absolutely amazing at his job. He has been with Beachbody in the past. He's worked with thousands of people to help them hit their goals. He's a man of faith. He is just somebody that we really admire, and we've been lucky enough to be mentored by the past couple of weeks. So we wanted you to be able to meet him, and when he offered, we took him up on it like that. And so I'll go ahead and hand it off to Craig Holiday because he's going to be way better at talking right now than I probably am. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Craig.
Thank you so much, guys. It's great to be on with you, the mother-daughter team, and your whole team. So it's exciting. We had spent some time the other day together on the Zoom, and so I just said, hey, I'd love to talk to your team and just share a little bit from my heart about the business and about this industry and about the potential and about really what you guys can do with this business moving forward. So I'll give you a little bit of my background. I've been involved in network marketing for 37 years. I got involved with in 1979. I was a cop and owned a construction company. I got involved with a company called Amway and built that for 25 years. By my fourth year, I was making seven figures in the industry and made that for many, many, many years. And back in 1979, 80, that was a lot of money. Today, it's still a lot of money, but it doesn't seem to be like it was before. But I just fell in love with the business and I fell in love with the industry. And, part of it was, if you go back to my background a little bit, I kind of grew up in this kind of dysfunctional home. And it was interesting because one of the things that attracted me to Beachbody when I first started, working with some of the leaders was the fact I was obese as a child. I was 85 pounds overweight in the sixth grade. And I always knew that it wasn't really what I was eating. It was what was eating me. And, I lived in an abusive home where my mom was an alcoholic for 30 years. My dad left when I was 7. And kind of my mom brought home some really bad people in our lives. And so, we went through a lot of abuse. I have 4 brothers. And so, I ended up in this place in my life where I was, it was pretty devastating. So I remember hiding in a closet every day just to try to stay away from these men that my mom would bring home. But I'm, being 85 pounds overweight and, going to 13 elementary schools and, just all the struggle you face as a young child. And, a lot of people grow up in situations not maybe that bad or maybe worse, but my biggest challenge came because most of my life I was asking the question, why me? Why did this happen to me? Why did I have to go through this? And, the biggest transformation of my life came when I finally said, why not me? I made a decision that my past didn't have to control my future. I couldn't change the past, but I could definitely change where I was going. And by being willing to make some decisions to do that, and realize that I think I had this DNA, this determined natural ambition that I always knew that someday, some way, I was going to do something significant with my life. I didn't know what it would be. I didn't think it would be multi-level marketing, to be honest with you. But it was just, I went into ministry. I graduated from Bible University and became an associate pastor of a church and never really felt like that was my calling because I kind of felt like I'd rather be with heathens than all these, because everybody there was kind of Christians and doing well. So I said, I'm going to go get with some heathens and try to get them saved and change their life. And so I ended up in the marketplace, and owning my own business and building, working kind of my ministry from that perspective around people that were just needed to change their lives. And so in 79, a friend of mine shared the business with me. And I right away, for some reason, I got it. I really got what we do in our business. And I think for a lot of people, they don't really understand really what we do. And what do I mean by that? I mean, you say, well, we do Beachbody, we're in Beachbody, but that's really not what you do. Beachbody is a provider of product that gives you a business opportunity to move their product through your organization, but that's really not what you do. That's really not who you are. And so it was interesting because I spent a lot of years in building my business and reaching out and building a multi-million-dollar organization with 80,000 people on my team all over the world and traveling the world and being able to impact people's lives. And then my kids, I have 2 sons. They both played football in high school. So the funny part was when I was at high school, my son's football coach was Brett Johnson, whose wife is Chalene Johnson. So we got to be really good friends. And, I had a $5 million home, 15,000 square foot. So the whole football team used to come up there and hang out. And Brett would come and Chalene. And so I just got to know her as a friend before she was anybody. She wasn't Chalene Johnson, celebrity trainer. She was just Chalene Johnson. And so what happened is once she built her organization called Powder Blue, and she started becoming more successful, started doing training. And so she asked me one day if I'd go with her and Brett to meet a guy named Carl Deichler because he was going to launch his network marketing company and give my opinion on whether they should get involved in it or not. And so I went. It was interesting because I spent time with Carl, and when I left, they go, "What do you think?" I go, I don't think they're ready to launch. I don't think they have what it takes at this point, but I keep your eye on it because I really think this could be something." So anyway, long story short, 6 more months later, they called me again. I went back, met with Carl, looked at what they had been, the place they were at, and I said, "Man, this looks like great. Go for it." So that's when Chalene got involved. You know, Christine Dwyer happened to be one of Chalene's top powder blue people that worked with her. And so long story short, she ended up getting in the company. So then they hired me. They said, "Hey, will you come in and train Christine and to kind of teach her how to build this business? She doesn't know what she's doing. She's just been a fitness coach. And so will you come in?" So I did. So she hired me. I worked with her for just 6 months. And during that time, I traveled. I was gone 20 days a month. I was traveling around the United States. And my goal was to find 40 leaders in Christine's organization that could build a big business. And so I went around just trying to find those people and reaching out to them and getting to know them and find out what their hearts were, what they wanted to do with their lives. And so then I did that for 6 months, and they just took off. I mean, Christine's business just tripled and doubled. I think when I started with Christine, she was making about $1,200 a week, and I think she was a 1-star diamond or 2-star. And so then her business, Platinum Presenters, just took off. So Carl Deichler called me and said, "What are you going to do now?" I said, "I don't know. I had some fun doing this. I loved it. I love the people and built great relationships. Got a chance to, mentor Mindy Winder and Christine and, Melissa McAllister, just a lot of those champion people." He said, "Well, come to work for us." So I did. So I went to work at Beachbody, had a 1-year contract, ended up there for 4 years. And so I know your business, and I know what you guys do. And I know what people think you do, for a lot of you, is not what you do. But I just want to talk for a few minutes tonight, and I'm not going to take a lot of time, but I wanted to talk about really understanding the power of our industry and the power of this business. Because hopefully all of you that are on this call tonight have a big dream of being, at least a 6-figure earner, or maybe even bigger than that for some of you. But one of the things I learned when I first got in the industry was my motto became, my mantra was, "It's not about you. It's not about you." Because when I learned and I studied the business, I realized I could be very successful if I wasn't about me. If I spent my life searching and reaching out to people to make a difference in the lives of literally a dozen people, 24 people, that could turn into thousands. One of the things I used to give my leaders was a little vial, and I had apple seeds in it, a little bit of oil, and it had a keychain, and they would just put it on their keychain or put it in their rear view mirror and look at it every day, because every seed, every apple has about 8 to 10 seeds in it. But from those seeds comes thousands and thousands of apples. And if you understand your business, that's what we do. That's what we're able to do by touching 12, right? 13, 14, 15 people. And I built an organization of 25,000 in 3 years with just a dozen players, a dozen people that wanted to change their lives. But it also meant me changing my life along with them, me pouring my life into them, me not being about me, but being about them. And not only just strictly from a physical transformation, but from an inside transformation. Because people I found were people like me. They had that DNA, that determined natural ambition. Now, some people have it, some don't. Right? Some people just don't have that. You can sit and talk about success and dreaming and goals and doing marvelous things with your life and raising the bar in your life and the calling of your life. And some people look at you like you're crazy, right? Because they don't speak that language. They don't hear that language. And so I learned that pretty quickly, that I was going to stop trying to convince the people that didn't understand that language to understand that language, because it was too exhausting. So instead, what I started to do was try to find those people that understood what I understood about this calling, about this workmanship, about that we were created to do unbelievable things with our lives, and that God gave us this ability to really lead and to be an influencer. And so I said, I know I can find a dozen people who were like me as a fat little kid that had this inside thing going, someday you're going to do something great with your life. And I knew they were out there. And so I stopped being about me. And I stopped, because when you're not about you, then you don't worry about rejection. If you're not about you, you don't worry about failure. If you're not about you, about yourself, all the little things that hold us back don't exist anymore. Because if I'm about you and I show up to sit down with you, then I'm there for you, not for me. And Rick Warren is a pastor of the church that I go to, his book, Purpose Driven Life, he talks about his whole first sentence of his book. It's not about you. And what's the purpose of our lives? It's not about you. If you think about our business and we drive our business with that driving force of not about you, that's how we become successful. People ask me all the time, how do you become successful in this industry? I said, you be significant in one more person's life. But we're reluctant to talk to people because we're worried about what they think. We're reluctant because once you have a calling, once you realize that this is a calling, and some of you get that. And well, it's just my calling. This is what I do. This is what I've really been here to do, is to what? Not just to sell Shakeology, not just to work out the P90X or Shaun T. That's not why I was here. I'm here to be a life transformer. I'm here to be an influencer. And yet the fear of our lives holds us back from that because we're so afraid. And so if you all look at our businesses tonight, for a lot of us, we realize that, what's held us back, the business you have right now is exactly what you deserve to have, right? It's exactly the business you should have, right? So what do we do about that? We have to change things. Because everybody said, well, I should be further along. Well, not if you consider how many people you sat across from. How many people have you reached out to? How many people's life have you shown up in their life and said the 4 magic words, I believe in you? Those are 4 magic words that transform people's lives. And so what happened when I started working with Beachbody, I realized that a lot of the people just thought, well, we got to get people fit. We're about health and fitness. I get that, but you're about so much more than that. That's just a small little piece of what you guys do, because you're life transformers, you're consultants, you're counselors, you're CEOs of businesses, right? So part of what you have to begin to do is look at your business bigger than it is. Because you can either open a lemonade stand and sell Shakeology out of a lemonade stand, hypothetically, or you can own a company like Monster Drink, and I'm not saying you should drink that, but Monster Drink, and be the CEO of it, and have franchises all over the world. So when you view your business, which one are you? Are you think of it so small as that I'm just going to sell over the product and try to get my discount coaches, which I hated that term, by the way, because you're either a builder or a customer. But when we get discount coaches, guess what happens? If we get all configured, all of a sudden we're in a maze because we can't figure out who wants to do it and who doesn't, right? So we have to approach our business by looking for people that are like you, that have that DNA. And when I got in the business, all I did was make a list of people and I started sitting down with them because I didn't know until I gave them a chance to know where they were at and where they wanted to go and what they wanted to do with their lives and what their purpose was. Right? So I just made a list and I'd call up somebody and say, hey, I want to sit down and show you my business, talk about what we're doing, want to see what you're doing. And I'd show up there without trying to convince them to get in my business, without knowing that this was a divine appointment. And the appointment I had, I was going to show up and I was going to participate in the opportunity of being some hope in their life. And that's the way I always looked at the business, whether I was selling toothpaste and laundry detergent like Amway had, or selling Shakeology and workouts. It didn't matter because what I was delivering, that wasn't what it was about. Because I was delivering me to them, right? And that's what you're doing. And that's why we have to learn to be the best that we can be in our business so that when we sit across from someone, that we appeal to them as someone they want to be a part of. That's why we teach, personalities. We teach personal growth. We teach because if somebody comes into this business and I always say there's 2 types of people. There's the type that you love when they show up in the room, and there's the type you love when they leave, right? And a lot of times you're going to sponsor people that you love them if they leave. Well, they got a long ways to go to build a business where you say, you want to work with me? People go, are you kidding me right now? No. Okay. So we have to help them become that kind of people. Well, isn't that a blessing? Because now they got to change. And the people I work with, I always tell them, it takes 2 things for you to be a 7-figure earner with me, working together with you in this business. One is you got to be willing to change. You have to 100% be willing to change because the person you are now cannot lead an organization that size. And number 2, you got to be willing to be taught. If you're willing to be taught and you're willing to change, I can help you make 7 figures in this industry, in Beachbody, in whatever company you're in. But you have to be willing to do that. And so part of it is first of all, is understanding your purpose. Understanding what's the purpose? What's your calling? What do you asking those questions, determining from someone really what it is about their life that they're not happy with. And then asking a question is, what would you like to do? How many times you get in conversation with people and say, well, I'm just not happy with my job, or I'm not happy with what I'm doing. And, 8 out of 10 people don't like what they do. And so when I would have that conversation, what would you like to do? Oh man, I'd love to be a stay-at-home mom or be home with my kids. And I say, well, how are you going to do that? I don't really have a way. Well, then we need to sit down together. And so I looked at my business, and I had some great mentors and teachers, but I looked at my business as if I had 2 decks of cards face down, 104 cards, and I needed to find 8 aces. And the only way I was going to find them was by flipping the cards, right? By turning the cards, because if it's a 2, it's a 2. I can't make it an ace. And so many of us get in this business and we get a number of people on our team, and pretty soon we're trying to make 2s aces. Or we're trying to sit on an egg and hatch it when they don't even want to hatch, right? Or you're riding a horse that's already dead, but you're trying to get him to the finish line. You know, you're sitting there whipping this dead horse and his tongue's hanging out and he's dead on the track, but you think they're going to get you to 5-star when you're a 2, right? It doesn't happen that way. And so part of it is being aware enough to accept the fact that some of the people don't get what you do. They don't want to do what you do. They're just getting in to get in. But I just knew in my heart of hearts I could find 12 people like me. And if I showed up in their life and said, look, I'm willing to spend my effort, my time, my money, helping lead you. I'm willing to work right alongside of you. And then I always saw my business as what it was going to be, not what it was. You know, you got to be a visionary in our business, guys, because sometimes this is like nailing Jello to a tree, right? Sometimes it's like grabbing a bar of soap. It's like, how's your business going? Oh, good. Well, I sort of thought it was, right? And it's just it's like a crazy business. So all we can do, all of us on this team call, is do what we can do every single day. And what are the things that we can do every single day? What are the goals we need to set every day so that we are in control of our future in this business? And they aren't wrapped around how many people are going to sign up. Okay, they're wrapped around how many people am I going to influence today? Right? So if I made my list of my activities for the week, there's only one thing in your business that's productive: new faces. And that's the only thing that's productive, whether it's somebody new to join your challenge group, whether it's somebody new to sit down and share your business with, whether it's somebody new as a product customer, whether it's somebody new on your team who's going to get you on a 3-way call with someone that's new, a 3-way call with someone new. That's new faces for you. But if you're not with new faces, you're in maintenance or management. And when you get management, you get stagnant and you can't maintain in this business. And the things you learn quickly in our business is you're either growing or you're going backwards. You never can stay where you are. And so it's not a business of maintenance. It's a business of growth. So I would set goals every day. What are the things I can control today? The 10 things a day I can control that at the end of the week, my business owes me growth. It owes me income because I did those things consistently. And so we can control that by making a list every day of the 10 things you're going to do. And when you go to bed at night, check to 8. If you got 10 of them checked off, you're going to grow. You're going to move forward. If you have 8 of them checked off, you failed that day. You failed that day. And how many of you on this call are setting goals? How many of you saying that I'm going to do this by this date, right? Because we need to do that. Because as winners, we don't like to fail. But here's the problem why people don't set goals is because they're afraid to fail. And so it's not comfortable. If I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, I don't like that feeling, especially if I told some other people I'm going to do it. Well, let me define failure for you in our business. If you tell me you're going to do something or reach a goal, you know, by Summit next year or this year, so maybe you said last year, by Summit this year, I'll be a 5-star diamond. And Summit comes and you're not a 5-star diamond. My question to you as your mentor would be, all I want to know, did you do everything humanly possible on a daily, weekly basis? Did you do everything possible to reach that goal? And if your answer is yes, then there was no failure in that. If your answer is no, then you did fail. And so we realize that the things we have to do is we have to set goals that we know we are in control of. Then when there's nobody else to blame. Right? There's nobody else to blame in our life. And so a lot of us, you know, in our business, it's really up to you. It's up to you. Where do you want to be? You say, well, it's up to me, Craig, but I got to find those people. I know, but how many are you trying to find a day? How many people are you talking to every day? How many people are you reaching out to? 80% of the people in this country wake up every day, I just read, praying to God that they could find something in their life to transform their life. 8 out of 10 people every day, whether they're prayer people or not, they're asking whatever they, you know, are asking, man, bring something here because I've got to change where I'm at. And so what you have to do is embrace, I get to be the deliverer of the good news, And people in our industry, guys, they're not looking for product. They're not looking for compensation. They're looking for leadership. That's what the pros, if as a professional in this business, if I wanted to join another company, if I wanted to join and get back in the industry and build, I wouldn't look for a compensation plan because I can build any compensation plan. I can make it work. I wouldn't worry about the product because every product's good to a certain extent. Some's better than others. I would look for leadership. I would look for someone who can guide me and lead me and do the things that they're going to tell me to do so they can mentor me so that I can move on. Because our business, what it truly is one of developing leaders. Leaders building leaders, building leaders, building leaders. That's Maxwell's level 5 leadership. And until you have that in your organization and you have people that you've trained and walked alongside, I do it, you watch, you do it, I watch, you do it. Until you build those kind of relationships and walk alongside those people. And you're the one who, sometimes you're lifting them up. Sometimes you're slapping them because they need to wake up here. But you built a relationship with them of loyalty because you found them, because you're the one who showed up in their life and said, hey, you know what? You could do this. You're better than that. God made you for so much more. And you can't believe how magical those words are for people who've never heard those things in their lives. And because we're in an industry like we're in, we think everybody's heard that. We think everybody's been encouraged in their life. We think everybody's been lifted up. So untrue. I remember being in Vegas. I was at a Beachbody event. I was speaking in Vegas. And this lady came up to me afterwards, and I just looked her in the eye, and I felt this connection. I said, I just got to tell you something. Her name was Ingrid. I said, Ingrid, I just believe in you, man. I said, I just look at you and your heart and what you do. I just want you to know how much I believe in you. And, I just did it because I just wanted to encourage her. And she started crying. And then the next day I got on my Facebook, on the message in the back, she goes, Craig, I'm 47 years old. Not one person in my life has ever said, I believe in you. Not one person. A 47-year-old woman. How much time did that take from me? So every day you wake up, you have appointments like that are out there for you. And, it's not just about challenge groups. It's not just about, posting workouts. It's not, and I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying because there's so much more to you. And if I'm going to work with you, I want to know who you are. Don't tell me about Beachbody. Tell me about you. That's who I want to be a part of, right? And I want you to have the confidence that if I want to work with you, that you can help me. You can be successful. And so you have to determine that and decide that. You have to become a great listener. Because remember, in our business, don't tell them your story till you hear theirs. And so many times we want to sit down and just, they ask for a sip of water and you open a 4-inch fire hose on them. Oh, this, oh my God, this, psychology, this. And these people are like, oh, Lord, please, I just asked, how's it going? Kind of a thing. And you know what? We got to be great listeners, not great talkers, not great preachers, not great convincers. I want to be a great listener because a question you ask is more powerful than anything you'll ever say to somebody. And we have to become, as leaders, as purposeful people, as people that are called to this industry, to this business. We've got to become great listeners. We think we're to give all the answers. No, we're to be good listeners. Reminds me of the story of I read about C.S. Lewis, and he's an author I love. He's a Christian author, and he tells the story of his wife dying, and he was madly in love with this woman. And he said they had the viewing, and he was sitting in there on a Friday night, and his wife's body was there, and all these friends would come in. And he said he just sat there, and as they came in, every one of them just spoke words and just started talking to him. Oh, it's okay. God's called an angel home. It was her time, and all this rhetoric that might have been true, but it really wasn't what he wanted to hear. He knew all that stuff. He said, then this man came in, sat alongside of him, sat next to him. He said he just leaned over and put his arm around him and held him really close. He said he didn't say a word. He said he just held me. And he said, then after a few minutes, I found myself sharing feelings about my wife and my sadness. And I shared with this man, and he goes, he still never said anything. He said at the end of 30 minutes, he kissed me on the cheek and walked out the door. And he said, you know what? I'll never remember one word any of those people said to me. But he said, I'll never forget that man. And so when we think about what we do in our business, I just want to challenge you tonight. We have to make it bigger than what we think it is, because you're so much more than that. And when people get to know you and get to know really what your purpose of your life, you realize that we just get a chance to be influencers. We get to influence people's lives and get paid for it, right? Every single day. And these people out there that live this hopeless life and this quiet desperation, we get to show up. And sure, I mean, we sell Shakeology, we sell these workouts, but that, you guys, that's not who you are. That's not what you do. You're the CEO of what will be a multi-million-dollar business that you own, that you're the owner of, that you can be proud of, that you can be excited about. It's not a lemonade stand, right? You're going to build franchises, which is human beings, local, all over the world eventually. Like Mindy Winter, 50,000 people on her team. She's never influenced the lives of 50,000. She's influenced the lives of 12, and those 12 found 12, and those 12 found 12. And isn't that interesting, right? And it works. And so as we start looking forward, but it goes back to your dream. And this is what, I'll kind of wrap up with talking with you. What's your dream? I mean, that dash between your birth date and the day you're gone, what does that look like? What does that life that you want to live look like? You have to decide that, because once you understand your purpose and understand why you're put here, and then you understand that you've been blessed by being in a business where you can live out this purpose of transformation of the lives of others. When you grasp that and you really understand that, you can't keep quiet anymore. And there's one thing about dreams, there's no expiration date on dreams. They don't expire. So, as you start to grasp this whole calling of your life and this song that you need to sing, this book of your life that's being written, it's never going to go away, because, struggle is less painful than regret. And so people that live their life facing struggle, because the hurts and the pains of our life, God never wastes pain. There's never wasted pain in our lives. Pain becomes the message to transform lives when you overcome it. And so many of you have stories. Each one of you have amazing stories that need to be told. There are songs that are being written, and they're never going to go away. They're going to keep being written. But you just have to decide if you're going to sing it or not. And some of you might be like me. I'm 65 years old, and I'm 3/4 of the way through my book. But I'm not going to close it. I'm going to keep writing, right? And some of you are halfway through. Maybe you're in your 20s. You're a quarter of the way through. But there's still this writing that's going on. And so the purpose of your life is that you've been put here to impact the world. And I know that might sound crazy for some of you, but it's the truth. It's the truth. I've learned that from working with thousands of people for 37 years all over the world. People from different languages, different backgrounds. And when you talk about this idea of this DNA and this purpose of your life, people just all of a sudden start shaking their head. I know what you're saying. That's me. That DNA, I've had it since I was a kid. I couldn't just sit in a cubicle. I was always frustrated. I had bigger dreams. There's more I wanted to do with my life. I realized my dash was supposed to be significant. And yet we sit back and say, how do I do that? I can tell you, you have to change. You have to get a dream that's so significant and so strong. It's like, I don't know how many of you on here have children. But, your dream has to be like, if you came home from work tomorrow, and you have little kids, and you came home and your house was on fire. You came around the corner and you saw, oh my God, my house is burning up. And you run up to the fireman and say, I have children. He goes, don't worry, they're not in the house. Well, you're not going to go in to get your car. You're not going to go in to get even photos, which you'd like to have, furniture, nothing material will you go after. But what if the scenario changed? What if that fireman said, your little girl's inside? Nobody can stop you. You're going in to the fire to get the kid. Well, some of you are trying to build a business for material things. You're trying to build a business to get more of this or more of that. And I'm going to tell you, your dream has to be the kid in the fire. To where you can't even, sometimes when people say describe it, it's hard to even tell you what it's about. But I get that. I get that because I built the dream with a kid in the fire. I had to get over it. I had to get through it. Because I knew that all I went through as a kid, there had to be purpose in that. There had to be. God has no plan B. Sometimes we think, oh, God's got a plan. God has no plan B, right? So whatever you went through is still plan A. It may not have been what you wanted to go through. I went through a divorce. I was married 35 years. It was devastating, terrible, awful. What I went through, it was really devastating for me, my kids, my family. But God doesn't have a plan B. He doesn't stop using me because of that pain and that sorrow and that disappointment, that failure in a sense. He doesn't stop using me. right? And so some of you are wasting your lives by not allowing God to use you at the highest level. And I believe that's what we get to do in our business. But you got to go through the struggle of it. You got to say it's less struggles, less painful than regret. And you got to be willing to connect with people, because there's people out there who just are waiting for you to touch their life. And you know what? Nobody else is going to do it. You're going to be the one to do it. And that's what we do. And when you understand that, you understand the purpose of your life. Because I just believe, and I don't mean to get super spiritual tonight. I tend to do that sometimes, but it's kind of comes out from within who I am. But there's a book in the Bible called Ephesians, and the chapter 2 of Ephesians says they refer to you as the workmanship, that you're the workmanship of God, that God created you, right? And you can go read the Old Testament, from the inner parts of again, he knows your heart. He knows who you are. And he says you're his workmanship. Well, the word there in the Bible is the word poema. And that word's a Greek word, and it's only used one other time in the Bible, but it refers to a masterpiece. Like, take your breath away masterpiece. Like think about the times in your life where you literally have been awed so greatly that it took your breath away. Maybe it was the birth of a child, right? Maybe it was a sunset you saw. Whatever it was, that when God speaks of you, that's him, awestruck, breathless over you. Now, if that's true, which I believe it is, then how can we continue to live a life of insignificance? We can't. We can't. And so I challenge each of you tonight, relook at your purpose. Relook at that why. Relook at that. What's that kid in the fire for you? What's that thing you got to do? And I promise you, it's never going to be for a car. It's never going to be for a house. It's never going to be for even a big paycheck. What you want is to know that the dash that you live in your life, this whole idea of struggles less painful and regret, this whole idea of my past is never wasted, that God never wastes pain, and that my story needs to be told. My story needs to be told. And every one of you have an incredibly beautiful story. And some may be more crazy than others, but still you're unique and designed. And when you got in this business, it wasn't by chance. And then when you decide that and understand that, then you'll have an opportunity to move forward at a level that you never believed possible. And it'll force growth, because I've got so much to do and so much to accomplish as I move forward for each of us. And that's what I believe about you guys. And so are you coaches? Yeah, but you're so much more. And when you realize how much more, and you realize how much the world needs your message, that's when your business will be transformed. That's when my business took off. I got so excited every time I could talk to somebody, not about me or convince them about what it was talking to them about them, because it's not about you. So if you can just think of my daily activities that I do every single day in my business, how much of it is about me and how much of it is about somebody else. And if we can live with a majority of time being about them, about those that need to hear your voice, those that need to see you show up in their life. And then I'll close with this. Here's the greatest blessing you get. Because, see, your greatest blessing won't be when you speak at Summit. I know you guys are in New Orleans, I think, in May. It won't be when you're on stage and 40,000 people are applauding you. It'll be the day you sit in an audience and somebody that you met, somebody that you sat down with, somebody that didn't believe in themselves, and you showed up in their life and you were with them every part of the way, cried with them, went through the struggle, forced them to grow, did all those great things. And they'll stand on a stage one day and they'll look out in an audience and they'll thank you. Thank you. Thank you for showing up in my life, because I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't. And you'll sit there in that audience, you'll have a box of tissues and you'll be crying. And here's your greatest blessing, that nobody else in that audience gets to understand what you got to understand, seeing where that person was. Because, see, so many times from the stage, especially like a meeting like Summit, we always see the stage person. We don't get to meet the backstage person, but you got to. And so when you find a dozen people like that who that they're going to be there, they will be, they'll have the success, but you knew when nobody else believed in them, I did. And your greatest blessing is to see their success, not even yours. And from theirs will come yours, but that'll never be the focus. So just decide, you guys, make a decision. I love this quote by Og Mandino. It was sitting in front of me today. I'm here for a purpose. That purpose is to grow into a mountain, not to shrink to a grain of sand. Henceforth will I apply all my efforts to become the highest mountain of all, and I will strain my potential until it cries for mercy. I love that Og Mandino quote. And so I'm just going to challenge you. Some of you need to start straining your potential, because potential is just that until we ignite it with action. And that's what you guys can do. And so I always get, blessed that I can share with you guys. And I always feel like this is an honor. And I always feel I know the responsibility. I mean, for this amazing, mom and daughter to put me in front of you and trust me with their lives of the people they love. I just appreciate it. And so I don't know if you have any questions, I can answer it, or just we can sign off, and just thanks for letting me share with you tonight.
Thank you so much for being on the call. I'll start crying. I can't. I mean, I really appreciate everything. I really can't talk, or I'll start crying.
It's okay. I get it. Thanks for you guys, the team you're building. Thanks for your commitment to these ladies, and thanks for all you're doing every day, because you got your own struggles, your own challenges you go through in your life, but overcoming those creates victory for other people. So I appreciate you I know you've been through some struggles, and God bless you for that. And like, I want you to know tonight specifically, God has no plan B, and you're still in plan A. So you need to understand that.
Thank you. I got it. Thank you.
Very beautiful. I'm glad I was able to listen to this.
Me too. I'm glad you got on.
Well, does anybody have any questions while I recoup?
All right. Awesome, guys.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Anything I can do? Hey, just hit me up on Facebook if I can help you, do anything for you. All right, let you know. And we'll connect again soon, guys. All right.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a
God
good
bless.
night and trip to Chattanooga.
Thank you. God bless.
Bless.